Hello once again everyone. In the second video on presentation, let me remind you, in the first video on presentation, we discussed overall sketch of presentation, the important factors that we have to discuss in the second video and in the third video. In this video, some of the important points I will discuss. As we discuss this point briefly, first point in detail we have to discuss about presentation is introduction of presentation. In introduction, basically what is presentation? Presentation is a kind of communication in verbal means and non-verbal means. Let me explain what I mean verbal means and non-verbal means. Verbal means the use of words. Wherever we use words, either in written form or in spoken form, it is called a verbal communication. So presentation with the help of words is a verbal presentation. In non-verbal means, two important points are there. One of them is moderate use of body and appropriate use of technology. So these are a non-verbal means. And there are sub-points of these 2 points that will be discussed in the third video of presentation. Let me explain what is a model of communication. Why is it necessary to discuss model of communication? Because presentation is a kind of communication, and without understanding the model of communication, we cannot present ourselves. Simply because we have to understand the role of sender. Whenever I am a sender, I have to perform the formality as a sender. Then receiver is equally important, which is equal important factors in presentation. When sender and receiver play their role properly, then communication becomes a successful one. So these sender and receiver are very, very important factors in communication. For example, if you take an example of a lecture, in lecture, teacher is a sender and students are receivers. Teacher has to play his role, and equally students have to play their roles. Otherwise, if a sender performs himself or herself efficiently and students are not attentive, I mean the receivers are not alert, then communication will not be a successful one. So these 2 factors are very important. Then suitable medium should be used in communication so that there will be exchanging of ideas. There will be proper encoding and proper decoding. Feedback, sender has to take feedback and receiver has to give feedback. And this feedback must be used in order to enrich your presentation in future. So these 4 factors, and without understanding of these 4 factors, we cannot present ourselves in any situation, either formal or informal. Then purpose of presentation. When you are going to present yourself, either in any forms, then you have to understand what is the purpose of my presentation. I have taken example of advertiser, commentator, professor. We see various advertisements on television. So they very well understood the purpose so that they effectively present and persuade their customers to buy the products. Means they understood the purpose of their presentation, that they have to persuade minds of their customer. Take an example of lot of things. Take an example of cream like Fair and Lovely. They try to persuade their customers. Means they achieve the purpose of their presentation. Commentator. Commentator always tries to create a picture visualization of the match in front of audience. Means very well he understood the purpose of his presentation that should be happen with professor. When professor talk or takes lecture, he must know the purpose of his presentation, either lecture or presentation in seminar or maybe in conference. Otherwise, presentation remains for the sake of presentation and nothing is gained out of it. So the point is, we must know proper purpose of presentation. And if you understand the purpose of presentation, then you will definitely present yourself effectively. Equally, form of presentation is important. When I am going to present myself either in interview or group discussion or maybe in lecture or maybe in seminar, I must know the form of interview. That may be different from group discussion. The form of group discussion is different from lecture. Lecture is different from seminar. So what is the form? So that I can adopt myself in the form, I can perform formalities and present myself in better way. Maybe in interview there is a questions and answer. So if the question is asked, how should answer be given? Is necessary to be understood properly. Otherwise, what happens if you don't understand properly? Then without completing the question of the interviewer, you start to speak. That is not a good presentation. So what are the things in the form of presentation in interview? I must understand it. In a group discussion, there are some group members with you. And the idea is you have to lead your group. It doesn't mean that you try to show yourself that I'm intellectual or I'm wise or I'm communicative rather than the rest of my group members. So that will be not appropriate in group discussion. You have to lead your group in such a way that will show a kind of unity. And that is expected in group discussion. That may be different from interview. Then lecture, obviously, you must know the form of lecture, time stipulation, the points you have to cover. All things are necessary to be understood properly. Seminar, basic concept of seminar, forms of seminar must be understood. Otherwise, seminar doesn't remain a creative one. It becomes seminar for the sake of seminar. The point is here, without understanding the form of my presentation, I cannot adopt myself in the form in order to present myself in better way. So it is necessary. The next one, these three components are necessary. The last one, execution, there will be separate video. That is the third one, video. But let me explain briefly what is planning and presentation. These two things are very important in any presentation, either formal presentation or in informal presentation. Planning. Presentation is a time-bound activity, must be understood by the sender first. So it is the responsibility of sender, speaker. So he has to do planning. And whatever be the matter that you want to deliver in your presentation should be organized and arranged properly so that we can perform ourselves within the stipulated time. Otherwise, it is not possible. So before your presentation, planning is very important. You have to focus on it. Then preparation. A lot of things are there in preparation. And basically preparation is related to your subject. So the selected subject must be prepared. And in preparation, I must clear all the concepts related to the subject. All the ideas, all the points, so that I can present in front of my audience. Otherwise, there will be a lot of confusion and chaos. And presentation will remain for the sake of presentation. That cannot be called a good presentation. So in preparation, try to collect the information of your subject. Concept clarity. Then last point should be, you must discuss your subject, or I can say selected subject, with the experts in that subject. Then and then you will understand pros and cons of the subject. And if you understand the details of the subject, you can present yourself in any form, in any situation. So that will be the end of the second video on presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.